Good afternoon to everyone. Well, we're here in this session about challenges for future cities. We have 4 speakers, and the idea a little bit of this session is we had to have 6 speakers from somewhere else in the world, from Jerusalem and from Thailand. The idea was to have speakers from almost all the continents, but anyway, we have speakers from a lot of places, so we have to see what are the approaches to smart city, but probably the approaches to sustainability in the wide sense. We know that sustainability and the smart city is thought in different ways in different places. In Western world is one thing, in developing countries is another thing. I think one of the good things that has happened in the last weeks about sustainability, we know that is this commitment between Mr. Obama and Mr. Xi about carbon emissions. And we think that probably this is one of the best news in the last 15 years. So now we have a commitment between developed and underdeveloped or developing countries. So we can see here, we will see different approaches to match these 2 ways of looking at sustainability from different countries. We will start with Rob van Gijzel. He's the mayor of Eindhoven since 2008, the chairman of the Brainport Foundation and the Intelligent Community Forum Foundation, which appointed the Brainport region as Intelligent Community in 2011. He was MP for the Dutch Labour Party from 1989 to 2001. So welcome, Mr. van Gijzel.
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to be here and tell you a bit about the history of our city. And well, maybe you're not familiar with the city of Eindhoven. It's a city that is in the middle of a region, and the metropolitan region of Eindhoven do have around 1 million citizens. The city itself, we got 225,000 inhabitants, and it's more familiar maybe for you because of the fact that it has been the cradle of the Philips Electronics company. And it was for a long time the company of the city. You could say it was a one-company city, although we had a second large industry, and that is the DAF truck manufacturer. What we have seen is that in the 80s, quite a lot of labor went away from our city to South America and Asia, and we had severe economic problems. We lost in 2 years' time 1/3 of all the labor places in our region and in the city itself. So we had to look for another approach, and then we started in the late 90s, let's say 1997, with the triple helix structure. And so what we did was we brought together the science, let's say the knowledge institutes, the entrepreneurs, and the city government together, and we formed a fund. And this fund was funded by all the communities around the city. So near to 1 million people. On every citizen we brought in 10 guilders at that moment. That's more or less 6-7 euros nowadays. That's not a huge fund. We asked the European Union to double it. And then the main point was that although this is public money, we asked the entrepreneurs to form a committee together with the scientists. And we asked other entrepreneurs to make proposals for economic growth. And that was really new at that time. So the committee of the scientists and the entrepreneurs could make decisions, private decisions, what must be happen with the public money. And that was rather successful. This way of working was recognized by the Eurocities organizations in 2008 to be the best way of working together throughout of Europe. And that was the first time that we really saw results after 15 years in the transition from a manufacturing economy to an economy that was dominated by digital developments, creativity, well, let's say the new economy. So we wanted to be smart at that time as well. Maybe you're not familiar with the fact, but a couple of years ago, the OECD found out that when you look to the patterns in the world and you look to the cities, then you can see that in Eindhoven, 22.8 patents on every 10,000 inhabitants is bringing us to place number 1 worldwide. On the second place, you can find San Diego with 8.4 patents on every 10,000 inhabitants. So there was something going on in the city, and we wanted to be smart, but that was only smart in technological way. It was not involved in the city itself. So the first stage of development we have seen was an incremental approach, step by step, recovering from a disaster in the mid-90s. And then, when we recovered a bit, we made a program. It was a program on 4 chapters. It was on people. We need talent. We need people who could work. A labor market, that kind of points. We had a program on technology, research and development. We started with the open innovation approach. And maybe it's important to understand why we did so. Because, well, maybe it's good to give an example. Half of the Philips products were not available, or not 2 years ago, were not available in the market. So you see that the products from the technological companies do have a very short life cycle. You need to renew it every 4, 5, 6 years. And then it's not an upgrade, it's a real new product. So that's so expensive for research and development that even the Philips company couldn't do it by their own. And then Henry Chesbrough from the United States, he came with the idea of the open innovation. And that is a way of collaboration with other companies. So I invited myself, the Samsung company in Korea, to work together on new developments, this thin film with huge of data, in Eindhoven, on an institute that is called Holst, on our high-tech campus. And in the first place, they thought, well, we're not that interested. But half a year later, they called and they were really interested. And why is it so? We share knowledge. We share the people. We share the investment. We share risks. We share world standards together. We share all the requirements, all the facilities. And the most important thing is we can speed up the processes to the market. And that was successful as well. So the largest research facilities of Samsung outside of Korea you can find in our city on the Holst Institute. And I think that's very important to see because these facilities are used by startups as well. So that was the smart part, and that was about technology. And it's the 4 chapters, what I told you, people, technology, business, and basics. Basics is about infrastructure, well, broadband and all that kind of things. But business was something that was very important for us. And why was it so important? We found out that although we got quite a lot of knowledge, we were not able to earn a lot of money with it. Well, when you look at the ranking in the world, we were in the top 3 with the knowledge rankings, but we are on the 13th spot to earn money with the knowledge available. So then we said, well, we must be strong as well. This is the business program. And that, well, we did it for 8 years. But over the last couple of months, I see that the developments are going so rapidly, it's hardly to make a program. We did 2 programs for 4 years, and we still do. But when I ask you, who had an iPad 5 years ago? None of you, because it didn't exist in the market at that time. Who's having an iPad on this moment? All of you. And who thought 5 years ago that you would have an iPad all here? None of you, probably. So this is only your only devices. But this is going all over in the world. And what I see as a huge, unavoidable assignment for the cities is the next point. We will see that the people will go to the cities within the next 20 years. When I looked at my own country in 1989, 43% of the people were living in cities. Nowadays, it's 61%, and within 15 years, we will reach a figure of around 80%. And that will be worldwide. For all the governments in the cities, it's a huge assignment. Housing, education, public transport system, that kind of things. But I can tell you that all these systems we need are out of date. They are all has to be transferred to new systems. We have to do that together. We cannot do it by ourselves, not in the city itself, not in this country. And it's a rather complicated way because, well, we have to transfer all these systems, but we have to do it because of exchanging all over the world. We want to share with other cities as well. It must be global adaptive. It must be possible to do it somewhere else. It must be more efficient. It must be sustainable. It must be open data because we need other people to be involved there. And it must be humanized. It's not about technology. It's about technology may improving the world of the people in the city. So, and then the question is, and that is a huge struggle between national governments and cities, that national governments still think that they are in charge. But it's the cities, well, this is a bit about Benjamin Barber. I don't know if you know him. Benjamin Barber wrote a book, When Mayors Would Rule the World. And he is telling us that the real economic spirit is coming from the cities. When Obama is undersigning an agreement with the president of China, then you get 2 signatures. Nothing happens. Something will happen when people from New York, from the universities or the companies or the governments are going to collaborate and cooperate with the people in Beijing or in Shanghai. Then there is a dynamic economic development going to start on. So, and when you see this, then it's very important to see what is going to happen in the cities within the next couple of years. And that requires more autonomy, more space for local governments to do so. So it's not anymore a top-down approach, and if there's not a top-down approach, there's not a bottom-up approach, because there's no top anymore. We have to do it horizontally. So it's many people to a city, new systems, and it requires specific circumstances, but the most important thing is that you have to do it with the people you're around, the people in your city. You are doing it for the people in the city, for your citizens, so you have to collaborate with them. And I see, well, scary examples like Songdo in Korea, where they use technology to put a city in control instead of using technology to make the city better. So, and we do not have the answers. We have never been here on this place, on this moment with the future ahead of us. We do not know what will work or what will not work. And that is something I told you about, the specific position that our council was agreed with his private committee, with the public money. Our council in the last program, they said we want to be an innovative city. And an innovative city will say that you will have some failures, and we accept it. We say that our civil servants may make failures, mistakes, but they have to learn from it. And that's the only thing that you can do. And I say as a mayor, I'm out of control sometimes. And when I want to be in control, then we are not doing the right things. Because when you want to be in control, then you will not have any innovation on a high level. So, and we have to find out what is going to work. And that is what I mean with disruptive development, is that we are all looking together to the grand challenges like healthy aging, like mobility, new mobility, like new food processing, all these things, new safety and security systems, and we have to find a way together. And we are only doing a part. And this is great to be here today, because we meet here people from other cities, and we can exchange our ideas and what we achieved over the last couple of years and what we will achieve in the next couple of years, so that we can exchange experiences and we can improve our city, and I think that's very important. So we started incrementally, we had a program then, and now I think it's disruptive what we are doing. So when we are talking about a smart city, in New York in 2011, they named us to be the most intelligent community in the world, the Eindhoven. And we call it the smartest city in the world. I told you, we wanted to be smart, then we wanted to be strong, but on this moment, the most important thing is, and this is Darwin, Cities must not be strong, they must be strong and they must be smart, but they must be adaptive. And it's to you to understand what the signs of time are, to be adaptive from the right moment, the right place, and to support each other. Thank you.
Perdona? Bueno, segueixo. Okay, now we'll go to the other side of the Atlantic. We'll go with Juan Camilo Quintero. He's currently the CEO of Ruta in Medellín, an institution that guides the city's bet on science, technology, and innovation. He was previously director of Corporación for Knowledge Transfer Tecnova and Secretary of Productivity and Competitiveness of Antioquia. I think probably Medellín, we saw this morning the mayor also. He gave us very interesting figures, so you can explain them a little bit more.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, and we appreciate this opportunity to present not only our city, but our innovation ecosystem. I'm gonna talk very philosophical, and let's take your translator because I prefer to do this presentation in Spanish because I'm gonna talk about the future of ecosystem, not only biological ecosystem, but the innovation ecosystem, because we think this kind of spaces, the kind of fairs is gathering many ecosystems, and we have to share the knowledge. Okay, everyone is ready with the translator?
Yeah, over behind, yeah.
Lo primero, yo quiero hablar un poco, la presentación no está pasando. ¿Dónde la...? No para la presentación.
¿No pasa?
No.
Lo están intentando.
Me pidieron que hablara del futuro de los ecosistemas. Y voy a hablar del futuro de los ecosistemas de innovación desde la biología. Porque yo creo que el mundo está cambiando tan rápido que tendremos que hacer un alto en el camino frente a la velocidad del cambio tecnológico. Se dice que en el 2050 la tecnología cambiará cada 72, 74 horas. La pregunta es, ¿están los seres humanos preparados para la absorción tecnológica? Yo creo que esa es una de las grandes preguntas que se tiene que hacer la humanidad, y sobre todo porque estamos construyendo ciudades para la tecnología. La pregunta es, ¿estamos construyendo ciudades para el bienestar, para la equidad y para los seres humanos? ¿Y qué entendemos por ecosistemas tecnológicos, ecosistemas de innovación? Y por eso quiero hablar un poco de la biología. Y partamos de que todos somos un ecosistema de innovación. El globo terráqueo es un ecosistema complejo caracterizado por la biodiversidad. Y de ahí tenemos que partir que Latinoamérica tiene ecosistemas diferentes a los de Europa, a los de Asia y seguramente con diferencia a los de Estados Unidos, pero todos somos un ecosistema. Segundo, que hoy reconocemos grandes ecosistemas en el mundo. Silicon Valley, Inglaterra, Alemania, pero también hay otros ecosistemas, más pequeños, menos desarrollados, pero también son una realidad. Y tercero, que Internet borró el tiempo y el espacio, y que hoy estamos totalmente conectados. Y una de las características fundamentales de los ecosistemas es estar conectados. La propuesta que hoy quiere Medellín, con su conocimiento, su cultura y con la evolución que ustedes han visto que hemos tenido en los últimos 10 o 15 años, es decirle al mundo que tenemos que hablar en términos de metapoblación. Porque básicamente, por lo que trabajan los ecosistemas, es precisamente para poder sostener la humanidad, generar cambios y ser exitosos en el tiempo. Richard Lewis, un ecólogo matemático de los 70, planteó que un ecosistema totalmente fragmentado tendría menos posibilidades de sobrevivir que un ecosistema que estuviera totalmente unificado. ¿Eso qué significa en términos de ecosistemas de innovación? Que el ecosistema que sepa entender los otros ecosistemas y tenga mayor conexión con otros ecosistemas tendrá más posibilidades de sobrevivir en el tiempo. De manera que si logramos conectar todos nuestros ecosistemas, multiplicaremos el conocimiento y muy probablemente podremos resolver retos conjuntos que hoy tiene la humanidad. Hoy funcionamos como un sistema totalmente interdependiente. Un problema, y lo quiero colocar, el tráfico de drogas, un problema que surgió en algunos países y hoy es un problema totalmente global interconectado. O sea que un problema que tenga cualquier ciudad en África, en Asia, en Latinoamérica, en Europa, probablemente en el futuro será un problema en Latinoamérica o en Estados Unidos. Por lo tanto, los ecosistemas con su interconexión tienen que pensarse como retos conjuntos. Emil Kahansky, un ecólogo de la Universidad de Helsinki, planteó 3 principios fundamentales. 1, el tamaño de los ecosistemas, como lo decía ahora. Todos tenemos ecosistemas, cada uno con diferentes tamaños. 2, todos los ecosistemas tienen distancias. Probablemente Medellín hoy tenga una distancia menor con Barcelona, a pesar de que tenemos 10 horas de vuelo en avión entre Medellín y Barcelona, que probablemente con Lima, que está a 3 o 4 horas, porque la capacidad de cooperación y de trabajo conjunto de Medellín y Barcelona es mayor, y ahí es donde aplica el concepto de distancia en los ecosistemas. Y 3, el concepto de la migración, y es cómo un ecosistema es capaz de migrar los conocimientos para poder trascender las fronteras y enseñar a otros conocimientos a través de lo que se denominan los memes, trascendiendo un poco con la genética para poder explicar conceptos, costumbres y nuevas prácticas para construir más valor. Y acá quiero colocar un ejemplo. Este es el jaguar americano. El jaguar americano, por lo general, ha venido migrando desde el norte de Centroamérica por todo Sudamérica. La parte oscura del mapa, verde oscuro, son los ecosistemas que están vivos. Y el jaguar ha perdido su migración básicamente por la fragmentación de los ecosistemas. ¿Eso qué significa en términos de ecosistemas de innovación? Que nuestros ecosistemas a nivel global, tecnológicos, de innovación, tienen que tener corredores biológicos, corredores de intercambio, más programas, más proyectos, más estrategias conjuntas para permitir, en este caso haciendo la analogía con el jaguar, nosotros los seres humanos y nuestras ciudades puedan trascender fronteras para poder migrar a otros ecosistemas y poder construir mucho más valor. Porque de lo contrario, sufriremos endogamia genética, sufriremos probablemente endogamia de las mismas ideas. Medellín es una ciudad que ha estado desde su nacimiento, desde que surgió, circundada por montañas. Y estuvimos aislados por 20 años. Y hoy entendió que si no creamos corredores biológicos, corredores de intercambio de conocimiento con el mundo, las ideas de nosotros, la resolución de problemas entre universidad, empresa, Estado, lo que se denomina la triple hélice y que hoy se está construyendo bajo la cuarta hélice, que es incluyendo la sociedad, sufriremos endogamia por las ideas. Los mismos problemas de las empresas tratando de generar tecnologías con las mismas resoluciones que tienen los grupos de investigación. Y por eso estamos planteando hoy que bajo el modelo de metaciudades podremos empezar a que los grupos de investigación nuestros intercambien desarrollos tecnológicos con empresas de otros ecosistemas y las empresas de nosotros empiecen a acceder a grupos de investigación y tecnologías de otros ecosistemas. Entonces, básicamente lo que estamos planteando es que la endogamia por innovación se puede presentar por el bajo intercambio de ideas, por el bajo intercambio de conocimientos, y por eso creemos que el futuro de los ecosistemas de innovación está derivado de lo que se denomina las metaciudades desde el contexto de la biología. Lo que queremos es hoy básicamente plantear al mundo que Medellín se ha venido preparando durante los 20 últimos años, que no quise hacer una presentación hoy, nuestro alcalde la presentó esta mañana del cambio, que nuestro ecosistema probablemente no es el más avanzado en la tecnología, pero está avanzado y fundamentado en los seres humanos, que la palabra más cercana a la innovación es el bienestar, y que lo que nos interesa siempre alrededor de la tecnología es el bienestar de los seres humanos, y que hoy Medellín pueda adquirir mejor bienestar conectándose con Barcelona, Singapur, Sydney, Melbourne, cualquier ciudad en el mundo, compartiendo todas sus experiencias. Y por eso hemos creado una plataforma de Open Innovation que se llama Cities for Life. Es una plataforma donde totalmente gratis podemos colocar los mejores casos de innovación en el mundo para que cualquier persona, un alcalde en Macay, una persona en Singapur o otra persona en Perú, pueda descargar los mejores casos de innovación de ciudades para compartir ese conocimiento y que le permita a Latinoamérica emerger. Yo creo que es el momento de Latinoamérica. Latinoamérica tiene unas posibilidades de desarrollo muy grandes. La tecnología está llegando rápidamente, pero también estamos produciendo conocimiento. Y ese conocimiento tiene que ser entendido por los otros ecosistemas del mundo para que podamos realmente sustentar un ecosistema global que permita la innovación en el mundo. Entonces, en conclusión, hoy Latinoamérica tiene diferentes ecosistemas de innovación que también son valiosos y que creemos que pueden aportar al desarrollo global. La conectividad y las relaciones de los ecosistemas tienen que ser mayor para así producir valor. Medellín no tiene cómo crecer mucho poblacionalmente porque estamos en un valle. Y la teoría dice que por cada 100 ideas, una idea puede llegar al fin con éxito. Por lo tanto, si usted divide el número de habitantes o multiplica el número de habitantes por número de ideas, sabrá exactamente cuántas ideas tendrá y cuántas podrán ser exitosas. La pregunta es, si los problemas todos los días son exponenciales, nosotros tenemos que conectarnos con muchas más ciudades para poder resolver no solamente los problemas de nosotros, sino ayudar a resolver los problemas del mundo. Nuestra región, no solamente Medellín, Colombia y Latinoamérica, están creciendo rápidamente. Colombia este año está creciendo más del 4.5%. Se espera que para el año entrante crezca más del 5% de la economía. Los índices de desempleo están alrededor del 9%. Es una economía vibrante y que cada vez está demandando más tecnología. Y por último, llegó el momento para proponer soluciones para la equidad y el bienestar. Más que las Smart Cities, tenemos que hablar de ciudadanos inteligentes. Las Smart Cities, la tecnología siempre será un medio, nunca será un fin. La innovación nunca será un fin. La innovación siempre será un medio. Por lo tanto, hagamos un alto en el camino, repensemos el futuro de la tecnología, concentrémonos en las soluciones de la gente más pobre de este planeta, porque no tiene sentido salvar el planeta tratando de crear ciudades en Marte o buscar otros planetas en el universo, mientras que miles de millones de personas están muriendo en nuestro propio planeta. Las soluciones son de todos y primero tenemos que empezar pensando por nuestra propia gente. Muchas gracias.
Okay, now we change again continent and we will have Mrs. Susan Riley from Melbourne, Deputy Lord Mayor. She is currently the Deputy Lord Mayor of Melbourne. Susan is a businesswoman with more than 25 years of experience in publishing and media, director of 2 publishing companies that produce city-based magazines that encourage the exchange of information among business people and residents. So, welcome.
Welcome to you all. And I can't help but say it's been a real privilege to come here to Barcelona and to be able to talk to you about my great city of Melbourne, the world's most livable city. At least, according to the last 4 Economists Intelligence Unit Livable City Survey. And while awards like these are always subjective, they nevertheless vindicate years of careful planning across many different administrations at Council and unrelentingly focusing on our people. Because the city we live and work in today is very different to the Melbourne of 1980s. We've come a long way in a short time. 30 years ago, Melbourne was in many ways nondescript. a city for cars, a city with far fewer businesses, and even with fewer cafes and restaurants. Back then, hardly anyone lived in the city, and the whole place shut down at the end of the day. There was no nightlife, no time, no night economy, and at the weekends the streets were deserted. And the great social infrastructure that characterised the Melbourne of today, like our public meeting places and open space, our new waterfront communities, our famous sports and arts precinct, our famous laneways and bicycle networks, were but a twinkle in a planner's eye. It was at this time in the early to mid-1980s, that a decision was made to transform Melbourne's urban landscape, to reshape our city, to make it a place where people wanted to be. All tiers of government were involved, the community were consulted, and they were engaged as well. Planners were mobilised and architects commissioned, and our journey began. Today, we are not only widely acknowledged as a very livable city, but this year we have also been voted the world's most friendliest city, the world's most admired knowledge city, and the world's most ultimate sporting city. And more importantly, more Australians take their holidays or weekends away in Melbourne, in the heart of Melbourne, than any other Australian city, which is a good indicator of our success. We are now one of the fastest growing municipalities in Australia and a magnet for people and new businesses. Indeed, in the 6 years to 2012, our economy grew by a third and generated nearly 80,000 jobs. All this during the global financial crisis. And perhaps the best indicator of our success in creating a city for people is that 2 out of 3 journeys taken in the City of Melbourne every day are by foot. People want to walk our streets and laneways. They want to be out and about and experience our city. So as you can see, we have risen to the challenge of reinvigorating Melbourne, or creating a place for people, a place that inspires people. But the big issue we face today, Melbourne's greatest challenge, is ensuring that Melbourne remains livable and vibrant. That future generation experience the quality of life we do, and how we respond and adapt to climate change, how we build a resilient and sustainable city, will determine our success for the future. And in our part of the world, we have to be particularly vigilant, because severe drought, fire and heat waves are a fact of life. For example, in the lead up to Black Saturday's fires in 2009, of which many of you would be aware, parts of Victoria experienced up to 10 consecutive days above 40 Celsius. For the non-metric, that's 140 degrees, and on the days of the fire, the mercury hit 46 Celsius or 116 degrees. The city couldn't cope. It nearly shut down. 173 people died in the fires, and nearly 400 lost their lives in Melbourne during this time because of the heat. It was a disaster from which we are still recovering. And I can report to you that Melbourne, as it always is up for the challenge. Our city currently has the most ambitious targets in Australia to adapt to climate change and build resilience in a sustainable manner. For example, we plan to double the city urban forest canopy and increase permeability. Now, we are doing this to combat the urban heat island. The urban heat island effects means that our city is up to 5 degrees warmer on a hot day than it is in the outer suburbs. And the sciences tell us there will be no respite. With the urban heat island effect set to increase by 1 degree each decade, combine this with predicted temperature increases, and it's not hard to understand why increasing our urban forests and the cooling of our city is a key priority for Council. A cooler urban landscape will provide healthier public space for our community and reduce the energy consumption of our city buildings. For example, we know that a single large tree transpires 380 litres of water during a typical summer's day, which cools the surrounding environment. That's equivalent of 5 air conditioners running for 20 hours. What would a cluster of trees do, or an extended canopy? Our aim is to reduce temperatures in the city by up to 4 degrees. And that's why we've invested 30 million over the past 3 years to build a green infrastructure network for the city. We planted 12,000 trees in the past 4 years and created an additional 10,000 square metres of green space in the city since 2012, including the conversion of 5,000 square metres of asphalt to parkland. Our aim is 30,000 trees in a decade, tree-lined shaded streets, and to ensure all our residents are within 300 metres of open space. But goals like these throw up other challenges: how to irrigate the trees in the parkland, how to nurture them in drier, warmer climates. In Melbourne, we are turning our minds to that. We have built 4 storm water systems across our city, including the world's first in-road stormwater harvesting tank in East Melbourne. Now, these systems harvest water to irrigate our trees and move us away from an unsustainable reliance on portable water. They build resilience, and by the end of the year, 25% of our landscape irrigation requirements will be sourced from storm water. We are also finding innovative ways of nurturing our trees and parklands. Recently, we have worked with our cafe and restaurant owners in De Grave Street, one of Melbourne's most iconic and popular laneways, to establish a practice of recycling waste. Leftovers from these establishments are being taken to a high-tech dehydrator at our recycling facility in the heart of this laneway precinct, and turned into compost like soil conditioner. And this compost not only feeds our trees and green open spaces, it also diverts waste from landfill. Now, since opening last year, the facility has processed more than 74 tonnes of food waste, 92 tonnes of commingled recycling, and 103 tonnes of cardboard. Now, that is equivalent of a dozen of Melbourne's famous W-class trams. But the great thing is that businesses are on board, and that interest from other parts of the city is high. We are also focusing on our built landscape in Melbourne. We have the highest number of 6-star Green Star buildings of any capital city in Australia, 138 in all. But we are also clearly understanding that to make a difference, retrofitting of existing commercial stock was essential. So we worked with owners and tenants and financial institutions to understand the problem and solve them. The crucial problem was how to unlock private capital, and that's why we developed an innovative financial mechanism to enable payback via the municipal rates, with agreements between tenants and owners for the payback period. And it has worked, and worked very successfully. The program was launched in 2010. 560 buildings are in the process or have completed retrofit. That's 20% of the city's commercial office stock. An analysis shows that retrofitting commercial office buildings in the city could yield an economic uplift of $2 billion and generate 8,000 new high-value green jobs. It's a classic. It really is a win-win scenario. So it won't surprise you to find out that Melbourne is one of only 3 cities, along with New York and London, to win 2 C40 and Siemens City Climate Leadership Awards for our sustainable building program and our urban landscape climate adaptation program. We are proud of our achievements because creating a sustainable, resilient city is not only the key to to a safe and healthy way of life, but also to our ongoing prosperity. And I look forward to hearing from the other presenters and discussing issues that are so close to their hearts and their cities. And I thank you for your time listening to my city, Melbourne.
Okay, to finish the presentations, we have Mr. David Howard, a third-term Charlotte City Council member. David chairs the Governance and Accountability Committee, and he's a member of the Intergovernmental Relations and Environmental Committees. He's also vice president with the non-profit Affordable Housing Developer Housing Partnership. So, welcome, David. Apple is still different. But we'll make it. You got it.
One second. Good afternoon. Come on, good afternoon. So my able friend Amy is going to do the clicking, and we're using Apple computer. Of course we would be different. That's what we do. I'm David Howard. I'm a city council member from the city of Charlotte, that is in North Carolina. And I want to talk to you a few minutes about some of the challenges that we're dealing with and share with you one of our best practices. I think, like the mayor shared a little while ago, every city is learning how to do more for more with less. And basically, if you know how to add, you know that you can add and get something less. But Charlotte's trying to figure that out. And we're doing that with a program that I want to tell you about called Envision Charlotte. And essentially, this project came out of a 2010 sustainability initiative that was actually developed between, so the clicker's not working? Okay, I'm clicking. Thank you anyway, Amy. It was an initiative that was a partnership between our Uptown Booster organization, Charlotte Center City Partners, as well as our energy company, Duke Energy. Duke Energy being the largest public utility in the United States.
The goal was to reduce the energy in our uptown commercial buildings by 20% over 5 years. This is an economic development play, if you think about it, because if it's cheaper to do business in the city, we'll attract more business to the Queen City. In addition, we'll be known as a sustainable city. We also got the attention of the Clinton Global Initiative, which is an initiative of our former United States President, Bill Clinton, and it became one of their official initiatives. At the beginning of Envision Charlotte, the founders always thought that we needed to be heads and tails above everybody else, so we did our homework. We went to cities like Austin and Chicago and San Francisco, and now that we are going global, we'll be studying some of your cities too, I'm sure. But the goal was to understand exactly what works and what models worked in other cities. And basically, the founders came to the conclusion that what we needed to do was to focus, very narrowly focus on something we could actually have a dent in, have an effect on. So we decided to concentrate in our center city, and we decided to concentrate on buildings that were 10,000 square feet or more in our center city. Basically, that meant that the universe was 64 buildings, and out of that, we actually concentrated on 61. Those are the ones that actually took the pledge to reduce their energy consumption over the next 5 years. In addition, those buildings, which total, by the way, 20 million square feet, allowed us to do something what we're calling shallow monitors. Basically, we went in and we put in these kiosks in every one of the buildings to capture real-time information and to share it with the workers in the building as well as the property owners. This allowed us to really get down to what was going on. And we spent a lot of time really trying to figure out how to take real-time data, aggregate it, normalize it, send it up into the clouds, and then send it back to these kiosks. What we knew is that it was important to establish a baseline, a real-time baseline of what was going on with the program. Because if you can't measure it, then you really don't know whether or not you're being effective or not. And of course, that's important to us. So this is an example of the energy kiosk that went into each building. And again, it was important for us to establish a baseline because we wanted to make sure that this program was replicable. I knew I wouldn't get that word right. It was scalable in other ways in other cities. And after we did that, so our partner on this one was Duke Energy. The very first program that we put together was a program called Smart Energy Now. This was actually a program where Duke Energy actually wanted to go in and help change the behaviors of the individuals that worked in these buildings. For example, I'll give you one, and it's one that I did myself after hearing about this program the first time. You know, most buildings have the rotating doors when you go into a building. Essentially, if you commit as an individual to using that rotating door when you go into a building, it's the same as taking 2 cars off the road, the emission that comes from 2 cars. Did I get that right, Amy? So I can tell you, ever since I learned that fact, I use the rotating door if I can. What we found is that alone, just changing the behaviors of people actually would reduce the energy that those buildings were using by 4 to 8%. And we knew that was achievable. We've actually done interesting things with Duke Energy, like created games called Crab You're It. And basically that means that we got the companies to have little crabs that were passed out, and if somebody walked out of their office and they left the light on, they came back and there was a crab on their desk, because essentially that's what crabs do. They take up a lot of energy. We actually have one of our big companies in Charlotte, a name you would know, Chiquita, who once they moved to Charlotte a couple years ago became one of the leading champions of pushing this behavioral change. And they played the crab game and they needed more crabs because they were serious about it. So again, behavior changes are one of the big things. So as a result, since June of 2014, we've actually seen a reduction of about 8.4%. So that happened over about a 2-year span. And basically that resulted in about $10 million worth of savings for the building owners. One of the other things that we did is that after we got going with Duke Energy, we developed a partnership with our local university, which is the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, to do what we call energy roundtables. This is actually where the professors and the students went into the buildings and actually did audits, energy audits for each one of the property owners. We've actually done 3 of those so far. And also, after we got that project up and going with Duke Energy, we decided that maybe what we should do is focus on a couple of other pillars to actually see if we could affect those as well, that being water, air, and waste. And we've actually already started on those. In fact, something's going on, installation of part of this is going on right now while we're here. So the first one we're taking up is water, and we're doing that in partnership with one of the sponsors actually here. They have an exhibit outside with iTron. And basically what we wanted to do, just like we did with energy, is we wanted to reduce the consumption of water by 20% over 5 years. And we're going to use technology to actually monitor that, just like we did with energy. So iTron actually is providing the equipment, and Duke Energy actually owns the light poles that we would need to actually use this technology. And in the city of Charlotte, our utility company actually owns the rights to the poles. So again, it takes everybody. It takes partnerships to make this happen. So actually after we reached partnership, we reached agreement, just like we did with Duke Energy, we actually installed the equipment on the light poles that you see on the display. Okay. And we wanted to, so basically the information is coming from the meters on the poles, going up through the clouds using the iTron equipment, and actually then that information is now sent back to the kiosks in the building. And the importance of the kiosks, by the way, is actually to involve the workers in the buildings with what's going on. So when you're out at lunch and when you're just out and about in the lobby, you get a chance to go by and see how you compare to other buildings in downtown and how you're doing overall to add to the success of the program. And our partner on most of this is our partner on all of these projects have been Verizon. They've been a great partner for us. And of course, there's the kiosk. That's the way it looks in each building. Next up is air. And with air, we're partnered with GeoSyntech to help us create this program. And the goal is actually not only to look at how what we can do in the buildings, but actually look at transportation options on air as well. And that is actually, looking at all impacts, whether it be bikes, cars, whether or not people actually took light rail to work, or if they took the car to work, or if they carpooled. Next up would be waste. Waste being the last pillar, and one that we're most excited about. Actually, work is going on with that right now. And that is actually an opportunity to reduce waste by 44, I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong. We actually did an audit. Okay, I didn't do the audit, but some of the people involved with actual Envision Charlotte went dumpster diving. And actually what they found out is that there was an opportunity to have saved about 44 million pounds of waste from going to the landfill. Basically, I think that equates to 60 stadiums full of trash. And that's a lot of trash. So what we think we can do, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. That was the goal. We actually went through 7 buildings, found 100,000, help me, Amy, 100,000 kilometers of savings in the recyclables that went into the trash that we could to save. See, this is why Amy should be doing the clicking, and I would be doing a lot better at this. And our partner on this one is Eindhoven. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to work with them, and they're going to put sensors in the trash cans of, and our partners, Duke Energy, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, the City of Charlotte, and Mecklenburg County are helping us with this. The goal is actually to reduce that, to reduce the waste from 61 buildings and to reduce that waste over time. So this is a picture of the actual meter that will be put in each one of the dumpsters. And this is the box that goes along with it. And basically what will happen then is that data will be sent, just like before with energy and with air, up to the cloud, be aggregated and sent back down to the kiosks. And again, giving the people in the buildings an opportunity to see exactly what the effect of their behavior changes and what this technology is doing and what it can do to help reduce waste. So far, we've actually trained out of a universe of about 60,000 people, 1,500 people to be our champions on this. And they are actually helping us now train the workers in each one of those buildings how to do this as well. So essentially, as I wrap up, and I ran out of time, so I took off at 12 minutes, sorry about that, is that we want to make sure that we implement these 4 pillars and that we are moving forward making Charlotte one of the most sustainable cities in the world. So we want to compete with our friends in Melbourne and the other cities we're going to compete with you to make sure that we can make our stamp on this as well. So thank you for your attention.
Yes. Right now we have some minutes. Just we could do some kind of debate, short debate, just to. I think the first 2 presentations spoke a lot about. About sharing knowledge, and I would like to know if really you think now sharing. Is knowledge already being shared a lot between, or only in some countries, or do you think it is possible to share it a lot?
In my opinion, my perception is there are many countries that are sharing their knowledge. For example, within their countries, in European Union is sharing more easily. In the United States. But for example, what is the capacity to change new knowledge, technology between South America and China, between Australia and the United States? I think this is the challenge to create, to leverage the new ecosystem that are emerging in different countries around the world. Because I think the concrete word is how to equilibrate the innovation ecosystem around the world to produce more value.
Well, I think the central word is sharing, and it's sharing with all the stakeholders involved. Maybe I may raise 5 I's, and that is very important for my agenda. The first I is when I look to technology, I already told you about the open innovation. We will have a new industry that will be integrated because of Internet of Things and that kind of thing. The second E is intersectoral collaboration. We need to bring high-tech and medical, and high-tech and medical and food, and high-tech and medical and water together. We need to find new paths over there. The third one is interdisciplinary approach. In my city we got the Design Academy, and they are looking to the problems on a completely different way than I do. For example, as a mayor, all the mayors in the world do have a toolkit, and it's regulation, permits, that kind of things. When they look to a problem in the city, and they are going to talk with the people in the city, they will come up with complete other solutions than I would take when I took my toolkit. So interdisciplinary is very important. I think it must be inclusive. We cannot do it by ourselves. So we have to join this with the people in the city, I told you already, and procurement procedures from institutes like the European Union are blockading new innovation and collaboration that is necessary to find new ways. And the last one is, and I think that's maybe the most important one, is international collaboration. We need to find new ways. We are working together with our friends in Canada, with our friends in Taiwan, because we know that what they are doing, it's helpful for us, and what we can exchange experience and insights. We can exchange the pilots over there, the successes, the failures, etc. And I think this is a great platform here. We must share all the experience we do, because we are all trying to find our own way, and then we have to start all over again. So when we can exchange these experiences and help each other, it will be more cost effective, and it will help us, our citizens, to get a proper future on a shorter term.
Can I just add to that, the financial side of it, and that is we can't do it without financial partners, whether they're international or within local councils. Every council, every legislation that is put forward creates more money that we need to find at a local level. And that is where I think a lot of our issues come from. Everyone can have the best idea in town, but who's going to fund it?
That clap was for you. The only thing I'll add to the conversation is that I heard said last year, I went to the Clinton Global Initiative, and actually heard Hillary Clinton say that the solution to most problems are actually out there already. We just haven't been in the room to share them with each other. And actually, I think that's why it's important to be at conferences like this one. Because essentially what we just did is we share with you a best practice that we have in Charlotte, Envision Charlotte, that I'm sure you'll want to know more about. And as we shared it with you, that's something that can be done in other cities. Additionally, while we're here, and Charlotte actually has 10 members here today, we're actually going to do site visits with things that we can learn from in Barcelona as well. So we're going to go to the Supercomputing System Center. We're going to go to 22 At. We're going to actually make sure while we're here, we're absorbing as much as we can as well. So what we have to do, like Ms. Clinton said, is find opportunities to share these best practices, these ideas, these solutions with each other so that we can actually make them scalable in our own communities.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike.
And just one other question about sharing. I would say, and it's very important, I think, for everyone to know the difference between developing countries and developed countries. In developing countries, innovation is, although it's small, it's very big because things can change a lot. In developed countries, the changes in quantity are less. So how do you convince the people in your city that these changes must be done? Are they convinced? Do you think these behavior changes, are they easy to implement, even though you show that they are implemented?
The easy answer to that is no. It's not easy, but nothing's easy that's going to change the future and direction of our communities. One of the things that I think is important to that conversation as well is bringing youth into it. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I have an 8-year-old and he is recycling, a lot more than I ever recycle because it's just the way that they're taught. They're taught to do things that, maybe coming up we didn't. So some of this is making sure we're teaching the behaviors to the young ones behind us because I think over time it'll be normalized and just become what it is. So it won't be necessarily shared, it'll just be the way that they live. But I also understand that, until that time comes, we need to be part of opportunities like this so that we can further the cause, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Just recently in Melbourne, we conducted a people's panel, which we've never done before, and it is a community consultation. We ran an ad in the paper and asked the people of the City of Melbourne to come in and give up 8 of their Saturdays, and we selected at random a group of a couple of 100 people, and for 8 Saturdays they've come into the city. Last night that went to council on the 10 points that we asked them, and it was a total surprise to us in Melbourne that they said increase the rates to pay for what we need to do to make the city as sustainable as possible. Now, if you try to put up rates normally, Mayor, it doesn't work, does it? But the people said, we'd rather you do that and keep going in the road that you're on.
Yeah, what I think is that we are doing 2 things. We are collaborating with the people in the city itself. So we're not doing top-down. That's very important. It's co-creation, I already told you. But there is another unavoidable development going on. When we look to the youngsters in our city, then you can see, and even people from 30 and 40 years old, that they are well educated. They can, they are more or less entrepreneurial, and they got a connectivity we have never seen before. So they will start their own activities as well. And we need to have an approach for that. So we cannot be the government we were in the past. We have to look what's going on in society. And that is what I meant, that it will be disruptive, that I will not be in control all the time because they are doing things. And the normal reaction of government in that case is that you say, well, we didn't invite it, it's not in our program, the element doesn't want to do so. So you are trying, well, it's a defense way of looking to this. And well, we are not supporting this kind of things. We try to do so in our city. So we said, our program is called Expedition Eindhoven. Expedition means we do not know where we will go to, but we know what the problems are. We do not know exactly the solutions. We know what the stakeholders and the shareholders in this process, and we have to find together a way. And I think that's the most important thing that we have to change as governments. We have to change ourselves very heavily.
Of course, there is a huge gap between developed countries and developed countries, because you have to educate your citizens to introduce a new technology, and of course you have to reduce the cost of the technology to get them involved in whatever technology that you are looking for. But for example, in our city, we are right now producing the 35% of the energy in our country, and the entire energy is produced by hydroelectric. This is a very good system. It's in the way of clear technologies, friendly environmental technology. But I think the challenge is how to penetrate all of those technology. How do you teach to a person that is in poverty to use a smart iPhone, a smart energy system? If the device is expensive, for example, it's really difficult. You have to educate the people first, create the culture, reduce the cost, and then going up every step to reach that purpose.
Well, this is maybe a great example. Shani Sheen is a guy from India. Went to Canada when he was 12 years old with his parents. And then when he was 25 and he was from the university and he had a good job, he said, I want to see my friends from that time. And then he went to India and organized a meeting, a reunion. And none of his friends was successful, none of them. And then he figured out, well, they got no access to the world. They got no access to information. They can hardly develop themselves. And then he found out that what was necessary is that you have to provide them, well, let's say a tablet. But that's so expensive for them. So he invited a tablet of $40. And he found out that $40 is a level that they could afford. It's more or less 2-3 weeks of hard working for these people. And then they get access. And it was a huge success. That is doing something on really development, that you can give people access to innovation in the world where they are living in.
Just one last word. The other thing to remember is that developing this technology actually allows an opportunity for a lot of those young people and the people in impoverished companies to actually create wealth. I don't know about you, but in the United States, companies like Google and some of these other companies popped up out of nowhere, and essentially these entrepreneurs took technology and changed their trajectory as a person, as a community. I think technology has that opportunity for a lot of the people that you're talking about in the developing companies, because technology provides a way out of poverty a lot of time as well.
Okay, then I think time is over. So thank you very much to all, and thank you to the public.